The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at Nine News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at Nine News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at Nine News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yes. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday. It's Hump Day, and it's August 30th. Today is International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearance Day, on top of National Beach Day. Sounds like you're going to go to the beach today, Gretchen. It's also International Whale Shark Day. I didn't know that whales and sharks were together like that, but whatever. And it's also National Grief Awareness Day, and this is my favorite. You ready for this one, Rico? It's Toasted Marshmallows Day. That's right. Make sure you just toast your marshmallows and don't burn them because they taste better that way. Yeah. But thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. That's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Use that fancy little QR code right there in the top-hand corner of your screen to see where we live on the internet. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube. And someday we'll be audio only on Twitter Spaces, but today is not that day. Also, coming up next, it is the dope dad himself. That's right, it's Rico Lamitte. He's a professional backpedaler, a professional fandangler, and, of course, a professional diaper changer. That's right, it is none other than the dope dad himself. It is Rico Lamitte.
What's a fandangler? What is that?
You're going to have to Google that.
A fandangler, okay. I don't know Fandango. Isn't that like the ticket service, movies? But
that's Fandango.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that what a fandangler does? Does he do the fandango? Is it like
you know how Jason likes to make shit up?
It sounds.
I don't make up anything. That's real cute, Gretchen.
I never heard of that, but I'll go with it. The fandangler himself. All right, so this May, High at Nine's very own Gretchen Gailey covered a story in The Guardian about an anarchist commune in Denmark called Christiania, with a population of about 1,000 people. Since 1973, Christiania has been a place for people to live peacefully outside of mainstream levels of and laws of society. But a recent rise in local gang violence in the district's infamous Pusher Street Market, an area well known for its open cannabis trade, has posed a threat to the local residents' affinity for lawlessness. While not much progress has been made since we covered that story a few months back toward a remedy, it does look like a deadly shooting this weekend might have been the catalyst needed to push these hippies into doing the unthinkable, creating actual laws. So a joint statement was made by residents and it was posted on Christiana's website this Sunday, and it read, "As long as there is a massive illegal cannabis trade, there will be a violent and deadly struggle for the market." A 30-year-old man was shot and killed, and 4 others reported wounded on Saturday when 2 masked gunmen opened fire on Pusher Street. 18-year-old was arrested and is being held in custody. Police are still looking for the other perpetrators, and while details are still pretty scant, they say that the shooting was related to the illegal cannabis trade. Reuters reported that 3 weeks ago, Christiania residents tried to block the entrance in an effort to stop the illegal activity on Pusher Street, but the blockade only lasted a couple hours. Go figure. bunch of hippies couldn't stop the drug pushers on Pusher Street. So Saturday's shooting did lead to the mayor of Copenhagen, Sophie Haystorp Andersen, making a public announcement that she wants to and she'll begin proceedings to close Pusher Street permanently. You know what? They need to be shut down. It's like a commune trying to be recognized as something. It's not a real town. It's not a real anything. It's just like, I don't know, Jay. It's like Chaz, I guess, like a couple of blocks set up. They have been, operating as such outside of the law for 50 years now. This is their 50-year anniversary, but things are changing, man. And you got violence. You got you got gangsters coming through there doing gangster shit. Like, it's time to call in the cops. So I don't know, man. That's just me. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. Love to hear, especially from you, Gretchen, because you actually covered the first part of this a few months back. Did you see it coming or not?
Dude, I don't remember the story whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I'm the one that covered this one. That was cute.
Yeah,
though,
I
Rico.
wouldn't
Yeah.
cover this.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, so Jason,
do you think?
with your vast memory, what do you recall?
Well, I mean that the city of Christiana is a city of lawlessness, a city of
The city within the city.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, it's like basically
it's like Amsterdam in the way they set it up in the Wire.
I call it more like the city of Chad in Washington.
Yeah, you saw how quickly that
Exactly. I'm surprised this thing has gone on so long. In all reality,
it's gone on so long because they've been absent of Western style capitalism. When that comes to play, you know what? Crime comes too.
I do find it very interesting that all of these crazy hippies that all of a sudden now they're calling for some laws in place when they all wanted no laws and just the freedom of freedom. But
I think the problem is with them is not their movement, is not their sentiment or anything like that. It's the fact that they tried to establish that within something that's not.
I mean,
like you're a section, like you're not a sovereign nation. Yeah, you're not recognized by any law that that they were just turning the blind eye. So Copenhagen was just turning the blind eye to them for 50 years and letting them do what the fuck they wanted to do. And then all of a sudden, like fools come in there capping.
I think Copenhagen messed up by allowing these crazy wackadoodles to do whatever they want to do, personally. But I mean, what do you think about this, Luke? I mean, would you want to live in a city where there's absolutely no laws? There's absolutely no laws and there's no punishment for anything, and everyone can just do whatever they want to do?
No, I think like we can go all the way back into like the history, right, and get like John Locke and Voltaire, and show that like even when there's a group of human beings, like there has to have some type of law or organization or hierarchy just to make it to where the people can function together. I think what they're seeing is the chickens coming home to roost. Like you want like anarchy and no rules and all those stuff, but then that comes with no infrastructure like law enforcement and government and people to pay and do your laundry or do your garbage and your sewage. And like there's things that we need as a society. And when you say F you to the government, you know what I'm saying, or any type of government, and you want to have anarchy run supreme, listen, there's a lot of things that come along with that I don't think everybody signed up for. So now they're starting to see some of the fallout of that, of the Wild West. Listen, when it was the Wild West, it was the Wild West, like guns and violence and the strong ruled, and that's not for everybody.
Exactly. It's definitely not for the weak.
And I want to make sure people know that there's different levels to anarchism.
Oh, you're saying that there's levels to this, Rico?
Levels to this shit.
There is levels to this shit. And just so you know, one of those levels is libertarianism, Jason Beck.
Stop it.
So all these Republicans that claim to be all about law and order and everything, libertarianism is one of the rungs of those ladders. I adhere closely to anarcho-capitalism.
You are an anarchist, though.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, you are an anarchist, though. Like that's your whole thing.
And you are too, as a libertarian.
I'm just a freedom-loving patriot, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Problem is
There's
human
different levels to
nature.
it, and there actually is structure. It's not complete lawlessness. What people, despite what people think, and despite what people put out there is a extreme side of that where there's no rule of law like at whatsoever, and it seems like that is the extreme side on the left that these people were trying to get down with, and they have been doing it successfully for 50 years. So like props to them on that. But I do believe in a certain level of law that should be coming from the community. I do believe in structure and all that stuff. I just don't believe that the globalist view of like this is right and this is wrong. It doesn't belong to everybody. And I think the systems that oppress us all should be burned down, and we should all be able to ball out as we see fit.
Problem though is human nature. When you look statistically at a human and a group of humans, you're going to have a certain number of them that just will not go along with any program that you put up. And the best way to do this is to have, the people try to figure the rules out themselves and be able to come back and adjust them themselves. But you get 1 million people, and you're going to have so many wackadoodles in there that you're going to have somebody show up with a gun. And Luke knows, man, I've been in the joint with people that are fucking wackadoodles. They will hurt you. They'll kill you. They don't care about your rules.
They don't care about any of that.
And that's why you need to have rules that are enforced, because your mommy can't make the world safe for you from these evil son of a bitches.
Exactly.
The last murder that I saw in prison was over $50. So that's when lawlessness runs. You know what I'm saying? Let me just be serious for a second there. But yeah, I mean, but let me go to bat real quick, or push back a little bit on the libertarian comment, Rico.
Yeah,
I don't think libertarian is anarchy.
No, exactly.
I think libertarians support individual freedom.
Jason's gonna say like, no, of course it's not. It's a form of
no, it's
anarchy.
not.
Yes,
Stop it, bro. That's those
it's
liberal left talking points.
I think that's a little extreme.
Right wing form.
No, that's those liberal left talking points, bro. It's all right though.
But freedom cannot exist for everybody.
Freedom ain't free.
You just can't have freedom.
Not like complete true freedom where everyone just gets to do whatever they want. That gets a little too
crazy.
Well, that's when the golden rule comes into play, though, Manndie. That's when the golden rule comes into play. Oh, you don't care, Gretchen?
No, let's go. Time's a ticking.
You don't care about freedom, huh?
Gretchen is here to bring that law and order, Jason.
Yeah, Gretchen doesn't care about freedom today.
In line. Let's go. Keep it going.
All right.
Let's keep it going.
All right, let's go to our quick commercial. We're going to be right back.
Jason hates ending on time.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
He is known globally for smoking the best weed in the world, and he is the longest continuously operating retailer in the game. But you know what? It's hump day, and Jason today is all about fandangling. Words that he makes up, he's going to tell you there's a real definition to them, and words that already have a definition, they don't matter to him. Come to the stage, it is Jason Beck.
Well, as you know, Rico, reality is all based on perception. That's right, and those are real words because I really said them. What you think about that? But I'll tell you what else I'm going to tell you about is this interesting little acquisition that just happened in cannabis, because Planet 13 acquires VidaCann for $49 million in Florida marijuana expansion deal. Las Vegas headquartered Planet 13 Holdings on Monday announced $48.9 million deal to acquire Florida-based VidaCann's vertically integrated marijuana operation, which includes 26 medical cannabis dispensaries. The stock, cash, and debt deal, which was unanimously approved by the boards of both companies, is expected to close before March, according to a news release. The deal also includes a fully operational greenhouse cultivation facility, processing, and analytical lab, as well as 3 product lines: Tikkun Olam, Stanley Brothers, and VidaCann's house brand. Acquiring VidaCann would significantly accelerate the time to market and, more importantly, scale the Florida scale in Florida. Planet 13 CEO Larry Schafer said in a statement, VidaCann is one of the 10 largest Florida cannabis operators by retail network size, and we believe it has developed a reputation for high product quality and customer service. Besides its Nevada footprint, Planet 13 has operations in California and an upcoming retail outlet in Illinois, according to a news release. The sale appears to be a bargain or perhaps a sign of the times based on earlier valuations of VidaCann. And in March 2019, vertically integrated cannabis company Cresco Labs announced an agreement to acquire VidaCann in a $120 million cash and stock deal. Citing cash concerns, Chicago-based Cresco backed out of the deal 8 months later, and when the Planet 13 transaction closes from VidaCann, equity holders will have a 26% pro forma ownership in Planet 13 on a fully diluted basis, according to the proposed agreement. News of the VidaCann deal boosted the price of Planet 13 shares by 5.3% on the U.S. over-the-counter market with a cap of nearly $119 million. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a little bit confused about this. I think Planet 13 grossly overpaid for this asset, but I have a few more questions, but I'll see what you guys have to say. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think about this?
That's one way to get into the Florida market, I suppose.
Well, this is the thing is, didn't Planet 13 a while ago, didn't they just buy a standalone license for $50 million? Sometime last year or the year before last. I remember them being the last group to come in and buy a license in Florida, and they spent $50 million for a standalone license with no actual infrastructure in place.
But Jason, like
what the state of Florida is doing with their medical cannabis,
right? Jason, you know Larry over at Planet 13. Big shout out to Larry over there. He said the loud part. He said the quiet part out loud a few months ago. And he said that there's a bunch of people. He said, we are flush with cash. We have a ton of cash on our books.
He did say that.
A bunch of these other companies, they cannot operate. They're on life support. And you know what? We're going shopping.
I'm surprised VidaCann lasted this long because they've been on life support for a while.
Yeah. And I would expect Planet 13 to be making more moves like this, because they said that they continue to keep on making money. They made right moves early on as far as building their business, building their brand. Where you said that you think they grossly overpaid for it.
Overpaid for it.
I just see them as strategically positioning themselves, and they have the cash. You know, if you got it, flaunt it, man. That's what they're doing. They're flexing on.
I mean, they were able to jump on one of the most lucrative markets. Like that was the most sought after, even from back when we were opening stores. Like everybody knew if you got the city of Vegas on lock, you were going to be flush with cash for a generation. So big up to them. That's dope. I like that what they're doing. The Florida market is like super saturated, but it seems to be sustainable. I mean, like I know a guy over there who has 48 stores and they're all doing well. So I mean, big up to Florida. I guess they figured it out on the medical side of it. Hopefully they don't ruin it with rec, but I guess we will soon to see.
We'll see if they even have rec.
Yeah, we'll see if they even get to vote for it.
They're going to get to it. They're going to get there. That Florida, the residents there are going to get there, but I just hope that it doesn't get screwed up in all the bureaucracy.
I could definitely see Meatball Ron going out there, just like taking his ball and going home, getting kicked out of the presidential race, and just going back there and pulling a Kristi Noem and say, "I don't care what you guys want. You're not gonna have it." I can see that happening. He's an angry small man.
I do find it interesting too that they said that the acquisition comes along with these other brands, because those brands are just licensing deals. And so those brands could elect to leave them if they wanted to, but at the same time, with Planet 13 being in there, I don't see a real reason for them to leave that.
Why would you? And you said, Jay, it was 26 stores.
I think I said 28. Let me look on that real quick. 28 stores. 28 stores.
So,
26. You're right. 26 medical cannabis dispensaries.
A Florida license allows you to have 25.
No, a Florida license allows you to have unlimited retail.
Yeah.
Jason Beck.
Unlimited retail in Florida.
License allows for 25 dispensaries.
That's not true.
If you don't believe me,
That's
the
not true.
books.
That's not true at all. That's
and
fake news.
Bullshit, Jason.
Ooh,
All right, keep
ooh,
making
do
up
we have
your
a
fake
bet?
news.
That is
With
not with a Florida license. You can have unlimited dispensaries throughout the state of Florida, with as long as you have local sign off to be able to have a dispensary in their local municipality. You can have unlimited. That's why
You
Kim
can keep
Rivers
talking
has like
bullshit,
150
but knock
in
yourself
Florida
out.
right now.
Okay, well, I would wonder how many licenses she actually holds.
And we put up a poll.
They
poll
hold
for
one
Florida.
license. They have one license in Florida.
Just put-
One
The point
license.
is,
Is Jason right?
Jason Beck.
Right.
Yes, Jason's right.
Jason is not
context.
right, but we'll pretend that he is.
Let's
He is not.
put it up there. You're voting for Jason Beck or you're voting for Gretchen Gailey. Let's go. Put it up.
Jason's
I
right,
love how he comes
and
up with this
Gretchen is
shit.
wrong.
All right, that's some fucking bullshit with the fucking kids cheering. The point is, Jason Beck, you
Gretchen hate the
are the
kids.
biggest moron in the face of the planet to think that Florida is not a lucrative market to get your foothold in. Especially if you're going
I
up
never
against
said that.
Trulieve. Mister, they overpaid.
I
You know
do
how much
think
a
they
license is gonna
overpaid.
Be worth once they go for.
I do think that they
rec, and rec is
overpaid.
coming in a year.
You don't even
You're an
seem to
idiot.
understand how
You're an
much
idiot.
how much infrastructure
Idiot.
improvements are going to have to be
You're an
done
idiot.
in this license.
Okay, I can't wait. But
I've
if
actually
my choice
toured the
was going
facility.
into
It's gonna
business
be
with
obsolete
Jason
in a
Beck or with
couple of
Planet
years.
13, I would pick Planet 13.
What are you saying? What are you saying, Gretchen? What are you saying?
I'm saying when it comes to business prowess, I would go with Planet 13 over you every day and twice on Sunday.
I mean, I would go with Planet 13 too. That doesn't even make any sense with what you're stating. So
My point is you're a moron. Next.
yeah, no, sorry, we're keeping it rolling.
Okay.
But nonetheless, the thing about with Vitacan is that there's going to be a lot of money that they're going to have to put into the infrastructure in order to actually produce quality flowers out of there, because their yields were super low and quality was just not amazing. And it's all greenhouse, and they have no indoor. Just so you know, no indoor. It's all greenhouse.
This is the thing for me is that's why I asked about the number of stores. If they were able to acquire 26 in this deal, on top of everything, to also get 26 stores that were in operation, basically turnkey for $49 million, you're looking at, you paid under $2 million for every store in a lucrative market. That's not.
Yeah, but most of those
deal.
most of them stores aren't doing that kind of revenue. And if you knew how much they wanted for to leasing the land, now I will say if the land that Vitacan's license is on was part of the deal, I would say that would be a pretty good deal. But I'm willing to bet that land is sold separately in regards with this deal.
Yeah, that the property isn't owned; they're probably leased.
Yep, they have a probably a crazy lease, and who knows? We'll see. We're gonna follow along and see what Planet 13 does with this, and I still want to know what they're gonna do with the other license, or if they had to turn that other one in that they spent $50 million on that had no infrastructure.
Puff Daddy got his money back.
I love how in touch you are with the facts, Jason Bex. With that other license, they opened up 25 other dispensaries. What are you talking about? Do you know?
I didn't know that.
What
That's
you're
why I asked. That's why I was just inquiring. I said I don't know what they
love
did.
When you come without the facts.
I said I don't know. I said I didn't know. I'm glad that you went and looked online and found out. Thank you, Gretchen.
Google.
We're really impressed with your Googling skills.
We should be impressed. This is what this industry lacks.
This is
basic research skills.
That's why
we love to talk.
That's why we have you.
Don't look at research.
That's why we have you for all that great research. And coming up next, she's a feisty redheaded conservative that loves to tell pot-loving libs all about themselves. And apparently, she's really good at Googling. That's right. She's the founder of Panoptic Strategies. It is none other than the Gretchen Gailey.
Well, speaking of Jason's favorite jagoffs, my headline today, Defense Department would be blocked from testing military recruits for marijuana under GOP Congressman's amendment. He is the king of wasting our time. I'll tell you right now, I don't even need to read the fucking story. It's going to go nowhere. Waste of time. Matt Gaetz, moron. Talk amongst yourselves.
Best member in Congress, period.
Idiot. A GOP congressman is seeking to prohibit the Department of Defense from using its fund to test people for marijuana when they are enlisting in the military or being commissioned as an officer of one of the armed services. Representative Matt Gaetz filed an amendment to enact the reform through appropriations legislation covering DOD, One of the latest examples of how lawmakers are aiming to use spending bills to advance cannabis policy changes this session. None of the funds made available by this act may be used to require an individual to submit to a test for cannabis as a condition of enlistment of such individual as a member or the commission of such individual as an officer of an armed force, the text of the measure says. A separate amendment to the DoD appropriations bill that's being sponsored by Reps. Robert Garcia and Daniel Goodman would prevent the use of funding to test most federal job applicants at DoD for marijuana. Now it will be up to the House Rules Committee to decide whether or not to make the measures in order for floor consideration. The GOP-controlled panel has blocked numerous other bipartisan drug policy reform amendments to other appropriations legislation this session, though it has allowed certain key marijuana and psychedelic proposals to advance. Garcia has worked multiple angles to try and get his cannabis drug testing proposal through, filing similar versions of the amendment to spending bills for military construction, Veterans Affairs, and related agencies, and agriculture, rural development, FDA, and related agencies. The Milcon VA amendment was not allowed to advance to the floor through bipartisan lawmakers have cheered the House's passage of the underlying legislation that included separate marijuana and psychedelic measures. Garcia's amendment to the agriculture bill hasn't been considered by the Rules Committee yet. While the three versions of Garcia's amendment share the same overall goal to reform federal agencies' drug testing policies for cannabis, there are certain differences in the text. For example, they use different names for federal drug laws and also deviate when it comes to the list of states that would be covered under the reform, with one excluding Ohio and Pennsylvania for reasons that aren't clear. The Rules Committee hasn't yet scheduled meetings to consider the DoD and agriculture appropriation bills in questions, but it will likely meet sometime shortly after lawmakers return from the August recess on September 12th. Meanwhile, one of the House-passed Milcon VA spending legislation amendments, which Gates also co-sponsored, would bar VA from enforcing a policy that prevents its doctors from issuing medical cannabis recommendations to veterans living in legal states. The Senate Appropriations Committee adopted a similar measure to its version of the spending bill, increasing the changes of the reform, making it into the final package to be signed into law. A report attached to the spending legislation by the House Appropriations Committee also includes a section noting that the VA has clarified that nothing in VA statutes or regulations specifically prohibits a veteran whose income is derived from state legalized cannabis activities from obtaining a certificate of eligibility for VA home loan benefits. Over in the Senate, lawmakers passed defense legislation last month that contains provisions to bar intelligence agencies like the CIA and NSA from denying security clearances to applicants solely due to their past marijuana use. But other cannabis proposals, such as one from Senator Brian Schatz to allow medical marijuana use by veterans, did not advance as part of the NDAA Act. More than a dozen marijuana and psychedelic amendments to the House version of the NDAA were blocked by the Rules Committee last month. That includes a measure introduced by Garcia that would have prevented security clearance denials for federal workers over prior cannabis use. House and Senate appropriators have also approved large-scale annual spending bills that once again included language to protect state medical cannabis programs, as well as a controversial rider to block Washington, D.C. from implementing a system of regulated marijuana sales. In short, Congress is not going to do dick with this bill. Stop wasting our fucking time, Matt Gaetz. And if you want to put something forward that actually matters, how about legalization? Knock yourself out. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
Little firecracker today, Gretchen.
Yes.
It pisses me off. Waste of a fucking time.
No, it's not a waste of time. This is I
of
love this. I love this bill.
taxpayer
It is not a waste of taxpayer dollars.
It is.
No, it's not. Not a
Waste of
chance.
it
Not a
is going
chance.
to die.
We all know it's
Of
going to die, but it's
fiery death.
amazing that he keeps this banter up and keeps
Why?
on
Why
drumming this
is-
drum
keep
because this
the
is something that
banter up.
needs to
He
happen
makes
for
us
the
look
American
like
people.
fucking morons.
No.
He
No.
does nothing for this industry.
Not a chance. He's done
Nothing.
more for this industry than most people that claim they have done in
Frankly,
this
he's
industry.
the
Don't get
last
it twisted.
advocate this industry needs.
Not a
No
chance.
wonder we can't fucking get anything done.
That's-
People don't want to be associated with Matt Gaetz.
Tripping. I love being associated with Matt Gaetz. That's the man.
Of course
AOC,
you do.
AOC,
You and Trump.
AOC,
good
yeah, they're
friends.
besties.
AOC is good friends with Matt Gaetz,
Exactly. They're besties. I don't know what you're talking about. That's right.
Just
exactly.
saying.
Yeah,
Read the
just
right?
lips.
Just saying.
hmm
AOC is not besties.
Yeah,
Gretchen,
they are.
This sounds
That's
like,
a fact.
Gretchen, this sounds like pissing up a rope.
He loves to piss up
Just
ropes.
Trying
He
to
must
make
have
it
stock in ropes.
And I was in the military. There ain't no way that conservative organization's going to roll over and not fight this. We can't get the VA to do shit. I mean, I have to walk out of that place. They irritate me so much. You can't talk to them about psychedelics. You can't talk to them about using weed for the PTSD they gave all of us. Fuck them. This is going nowhere, Jason. I'm sorry.
I said that. I said I know it's going nowhere, Dale. I already know this, but I'm glad that Matt keeps on introducing this and keeps on bringing up this topic because it's something that needs to happen.
Why doesn't he start introducing legislation that could actually maybe make this happen? The armed forces are not going to get on board with cannabis when no one else in the federal government is. It's not happening. You need to push for legalization. That is how it's going to happen. If you want soldiers to be able to consume cannabis legally or get enlisted, yada, yada, legally, we all know that they use. But if you want them not to be thrown out, you have to pass legalization. That's it. I don't know what.
I agree that you have to pass. I agree that you have to pass the descheduling bill too, Gretchen. But what I'm saying is this is a great policy. This is a fantastic policy. This is something that the cannabis industry should be praising.
That bill.
This is something the cannabis industry should be praising because it takes courage to actually 100%. It takes courage to introduce these types of bills, especially when you know they're not going to go anywhere. But it keeps the conversation going, Gretchen.
This is what I think of Matt Gaetz' courage.
Oh, I see how you did that. You just made Nick and Chemo real happy right there.
I want to bring a term into this. You guys, it's called pusillanimous. Lacks courage. It's the root word for pussy. So,
just for the record, everybody, that was not dice that was in Gretchen's hand when she did that motion.
This was I should make it a lot smaller for Matt Gaetz.
Oh man, such a hater, Matt Gaetz. Yeah, Matt Gaetz is one of cannabis industry's strongest allies on Capitol Hill, and my personally favorite member of Congress.
Put forward something that
matters. He does, Gretchen.
When
he does all the time, all the time.
I have mixed feelings. I have mixed feelings on Matt Gaetz, but I am happy about the hearings that he was leading on the UFO research, man.
Yeah, Matt's the man. Stop being such a hater, Gretchen. Stop being such a hater. That's the man. Just admit it, and your life will be better one day.
That's what I gotta say to these jagoffs, including Jason Beck. Stop wasting my time.
Gretchen, I will say this: the Farr-Rodenbacher bill failed for probably 5 years in a row before anything ever happened on it, and it slowly gained votes. So I'm not mad at them for doing this. I agree with you, though. This doesn't go anywhere. The military should be based on merit like they are right now, and that should go all the way into if they use cannabis. Like, if you can use cannabis and still execute your job, I'm totally cool with you doing that. If you cannot use cannabis and execute your job, then you can't do your job, period. This should be merit-based. It's very simple. Other than that, hey, look, we have to get things past like safe banking, like legalization, and these other things. Even if it's incremental, these are things everybody agrees on. I don't think this is something that is. I think this bill is a little early. I think it's a little before its time because people we haven't got to this point yet, and I think legalization, those other things will come first. And then we'll see to where we can get this dropped from the military testing.
There's bigger hurdles that have to be mastered before we can ever pass something like this.
I don't know.
If you want to see Matt Gaetz have some courage, why don't you tell him to go and sponsor a social equity bill? That would take some fucking courage.
Socialist equity bill? Why would he sponsor a socialist equity bill? Because he doesn't believe in socialism. So why would he do that?
Because some stuff needs to happen before we care about this bullshit that he does.
I'm not buying that. I totally disagree with that statement.
If he believes in the military is a socialist arm of our government.
Stop it. You know what? We're gonna go to a commercial. You guys are just being ridiculous today.
Yeah,
stop it.
You're quiet.
You're living in fairy tale land today. Both.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The control tower from Highly Educated.
Oh, yeah. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button if you're watching us at home. We appreciate it very, very much. And it's free. It's nothing else you got to do. You don't got a super chat or nothing. Just hit the like button. And on top of that, too, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And, of course, make sure you head over to our website, www.highat9news.com, and check it out. We got tons of merch over there. All the articles that you read over here on the daily are on the website, as well as make sure you sign up for our newsletter. You will get a confirmation email in your inbox. And once you hit that, you will be officially subscribed.
Keeping up to date on the evolving policies of relevant state, local, and federal governments is key to success. When the future of your business is at stake, you need representation as dedicated as you are. With a maze of laws and regulations surrounding cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics, knowing where to begin can be a challenge. Good Thing the Law offices of Omar Figueroa features a skilled, highly focused team ready to guide you through it all. They're accepting new clients in California and New York. So make sure you check them out at info@omarfigueroa.com.
He just wrapped up 35 years practicing law, 23 years of that in California cannabis, and now everybody's favorite foul-mouthed uncle is here to teach us more than just the root word of pussy.
Pusillanimous.
Dale Schafer, what you got for us?
Good morning, everybody, and for you, Gretchen, good afternoon. This comes out of Law 360. Headline is Pot Entrepreneur Settles Claim, Ex-Partner Hid $6.4 million award. This is a story of how business partners screw each other and then end up in court. And we have a couple of guys here, David Barch and Mackie Bark. Now, I'm looking at this going, Barch and Bark, what the fuck? Where'd these guys meet each other? Probably a bar drinking too much. But they formed a company that was after a license in Maryland called Doctors Orders Maryland. And they were supposedly 50-50 partners. And I don't know if it's a partnership or a corporation because the story mentions shares, and people that write this get things confused a bit. But they formed a business entity. They owned it 50-50. They had an agreement that any equity this business acquired in any future businesses, they were going to own 50-50. Back in 2018, Mr. Barch sued Mr. Bark for breach of contract. And as a result of that suit, Mr. Barch was awarded $6.4 million. As the court agreed, he did get screwed by this guy. Well, it turns out that somewhere contemporaneous with this settlement, this guy, Mackie Bark, his wife, Kimberly Bark, and his brother, Justin Bark, the Bark trio, they were siphoning assets out of this business. They put them into trusts, family investment and resource trusts, and these three were the trustees. They gave what was purported to be false information about the value of the business, and they also acquired assets in another business but didn't share with him. So in 2020, he decided, screw you guys, man, or 2022, screw you guys. I'm going to sue you for what you did. And he went back into court and he outlined what these people had done. There's one lady in here, I don't want to be misogynist here, but outlined that I had a $6.4 million award, and they started bleeding assets off of this, hiding it in trust. They didn't give me what I was owed in this new business, okay? And they just had a settlement, a stipulation to dismiss these claims without prejudice, which means if you don't do what we agreed to do, I come back and kick the shit out of you. But they stipulated to settle this thing. They didn't give the details. But if I read between the lines, these three got caught doing some scandalous shit. And I can just tell you, almost every business dispute I've ever handled, one side or both sides, was just scandalous in the way they handled the dissolution of these businesses or breaches of contracts. You got to be very careful and watch the people you get into business with, because the problems I see have to do with the pathology of the control group. And if the people running these businesses can't get along with each other because everyone wants to be the alpha, and if you don't give them what they want, they act stupid, and then they steal from you, shit starts bleeding out, money disappears. This is sort of the root of what I see. People who don't know how to run a business, don't know how to pick their partners, continuously get themselves in these kind of problems. So I'm going to throw this back at you. We can talk about the scandalous shit we've all been involved in with business partners. But this is just an example of how bad this can go. And the cannabis industry, these can be large dollar amounts they're chasing. That's me for High at 9. Back at you. What do y'all got to say?
Dale, is it customary at all in business relationships to do, I don't know, a prenup of sorts?
The business prenups.
Well,
why are there not more of those?
The prenup, if you want to call them that, I draft them as membership agreements, shareholder agreements. We put together bylaws that outline the rules of engagement and what happens if certain events occur. And yeah, you can call them a prenup. I stopped doing family law because I just found the same thing. People who used to have sex and don't anymore are just fucking scandalous. People who are in business and then aren't in business anymore are the same, fucking scandalous. They're just, yeah, but.
Fighting over money makes people act more savage than anything ever. I mean, in all of history, that's all what majority of wars and battles are about, right? Just money.
Well, but it's human nature. It's human nature. And I don't want to say that it's all men, but the amount of women that get involved in this kind of scandalous behavior is much less than guys. Guys are much more disagreeable. They're not empathetic. They're not open-minded as much as women are. And you find these guys just stabbing each other in the back. And I've only been successful, I think, once in getting a control group to a business psychologist trying to help them get some therapy and be able to work this shit out. Otherwise, you end up in court paying assholes like me a lot of money to try and unwind the shit you should have never done in the first damn place.
Biggie Small said it best: money and blood don't mix.
They do not.
Find yourself in serious. You know what? It's crazy you said that, Luke, because so many people in this age of cannabis do not listen to the 10 crack commandments. It's sad.
They need to.
It's sad, man. Basic rules to live by.
Basic rules of hustling.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just basic rules to live by, just in general. I mean, you know what I mean? That's just the way to go. I don't know.
It is, man.
Well, but how do you figure out somebody's character before they show you the bad side of it? That's part of the problem.
Well, no, it's more, Dale, that you just know that before you go into business of, like, you know, who you go into business with and who you don't. And we're just saying, don't go into business with people that you are family or friends or lovers or all that type of stuff with, if you're not going into it clear-eyed that, you know, hey, look, these situations can cross over into your personal relationships because now you're mixing the two.
Well, and I tell people to be very skeptical, and I help draft these membership agreements, these shareholder agreements and bylaws that lets you be skeptical of that person, work with them. But if shit goes south, then you have some protection in there, and you got to watch. I mean, you've got to watch these people, your partners, watch the money, watch the transfer of assets, it's just, if you're not paying attention and then you claim, oh, I got screwed here. Well, when did you figure out you were getting screwed, and why weren't you watching closer?
Very true. Man, it's tough reality for a lot of people to have to realize.
And lots of chickens are coming to roost. Now that
I'm telling you, pick up businesses that are circling the drain, and then you have to deal with not even having enough assets to pay for it all, and you find out, oh, my business partner walked away with assets I didn't find out about. I mean, I deal with this stuff on the daily. It's just scandalous, and I don't mind taking people's money, but I'd advise them, spend your money ahead of time with lawyers, pack in your side with protections, and then watch these people. Have an accountant, have an attorney watch over your shoulder and make sure you don't get screwed. And then if you do, my motto is punch him right in the face. Punch him right in the face.
That goes real far in the courtroom, huh, Dale?
Because there is no code anymore. Nobody listens to 10 crack commandments. You just might end up in court for that.
Yeah, but we just want to announce that Dale has a mixtape dropping with E40 called Scandalous.
You know what? You know what I think we should start. You know what I think we should start. I think we should start a settlement dispute for a lot of these entrepreneurs, and basically we will fly them out to Christiana, and then they can figure out their problems all right there, and then they can come back and it's all settled and done with. What do you think about that?
Can you still do trial by combat?
Yeah,
they're doing boot camp in Chaz.
Yeah, we're gonna send them. We're gonna send them to Christiana. Exactly, we're gonna send them to Christiana. Let them duke it out. Let them fight it out. Shoot it out. Whatever they want to do, because there's no laws there.
Basic training in Chaz. Send them out. Deploy them to Christiana, and on the trip out there, they're listening to the Pusiana, the
Pusillanimous.
Oh boy,
Pusiana Scandalous.
Yeah, I want the code of Hammurabi to apply there. Use that one. The eye for the eye and the tooth for the tooth.
Listen, does Christiana still do the trial by combat? Because if they do that, that's kind of dope.
Well, the whole thing is it's a lawless society, Luke. So you can do whatever you want out there.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So
that's what's up.
No more.
But we're gonna keep this. They haven't changed anything yet. They're just talking about it, Rico. But coming up next, she's a mother. She's a cannabis executive and an edibles judge for the Emerald Cup. Come to show you how all of those different lifestyles all come together for an amazing executive lifestyle is none other than the Manndie Tingler.
Good morning, everybody. Today my story comes to us from New York Times, and they are stating that cannabis use disorder has been found be common amongst marijuana users. It says more than 1/5 of people who use cannabis struggle with dependency or problematic use, according to a study published on Tuesday in the Journal of American Medical Association Network Open. The research found that 21% of the people in the study had some degree of cannabis use disorder, which clinicians characterize broadly as problematic use of cannabis that leads to a variety of symptoms, such as recurrent social and occupational problems, indicating impairment and distress. In the study, 6.5% of users suffered from moderate to severe disorder. Cannabis users who experienced more dependency tended to be recreational users, whereas less severe but still problematic use was associated roughly equally with medical and recreational use. The most common symptoms among both groups were increased tolerance, craving, and uncontrolled escalation of use. I'm going to come back to that. It says the cannabis use is rising nationwide as more states have legalized it. The new findings align with prior research, which has found that around 20% of cannabis users develop cannabis use disorder. The condition can be treated with detoxification and abstinence therapies and other treatments that work with addictive behaviors. The new study drew its data from nearly 1,500 primary care patients in Washington state, where recreational use legal, and in an effort to explore the prevalence of cannabis use disorder among both medical and non-medical users. The research found that 42% of cannabis users identified themselves solely as medical users, 25% indicated as non-medical users, and 32% identified as both recreational and medical users. This result here underscored the importance of assessing patient cannabis use and the CUD symptoms in medical setting, the study concluded. That finding is consistent with prior research that urged people to learn about the risks of developing cannabis use disorder, particularly among those who initiate early use and use frequently during adolescence. Guys, I love when these articles come out. I'm always sharing them. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Definitely want to go back to the topic of the uncontrolled escalation of cannabis use. But give me some feedback here. This is Manndie coming at you from High at 9. What do you say?
This is just more propaganda right here. Yeah.
Where do they get these numbers from?
Exactly, Dale.
That's the problem. They look at 1,500 people, and the numbers that I was familiar with was 10% of users go on to get close to a cannabis use disorder diagnosis. Now they're saying it's 20, and that's what it used to be for coke and fucking heroin. So where are we going to go with this stuff? And they never remove from these calculations what prohibition does to people. You know, there's all these problems you get from weed. Well, okay, how many of them are based upon it being fucking illegal, or you lose your job? Okay, you go to jail. If you look at only the medical implications of smoking weed, and these numbers are relatively small, like less than 10%. Even that, if you're got a cannabis use disorder, you have nothing compared to the problem when you're a heroin addict. When you're sucking dick for your meth that afternoon. I mean, when you
Tell them,
when
Dale.
you got those kind of problems, man, you know, someone who smokes a little weed, you ain't got no
afternoon.
problem whatsoever. When you're flat backing for your next line of crank, fuck,
Oh yeah,
you got a problem.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's-
specifically in the afternoon there. If you're doing it in the morning, you know, it might be something else you should be looking at.
That's how bipping
Oh, that's
became
totally
such a
legit.
trend.
Totally legit.
That's how bipping became such a trend too. Started with tweakers always trying to steal stuff. It just turned into everybody else.
So is cannabis use disorder, is that what we're just gonna call like the stereotypical stoners from now on?
Cheech and Chong.
Is that like a,
I don't know.
is that like
I
the
just
PC is it a PC version?
I really hate these kind of propaganda pieces because it really freaks average people out that don't really understand cannabis at all. That's the biggest problem I feel like with stuff like this is that all of a sudden they see the headline, and then all of a sudden they're just believing that, and because they've been conditioned to buy into the reefer madness their whole life, they don't know any different or better to even question it. And so,
You know, every time we have
the problem I really have with these kinds of studies is the fact that there's so many people out there that need to use cannabis every day, all day, and to manage whatever, right? And that doesn't mean that they're, you know, having a use disorder. I mean, think about all the people that take prescription medication or shit, even just caffeine first thing in the morning. I mean, talk about being addicted to all sorts of substances. At the end of the day, cannabis is like the least of anybody's problem. Well, for the most part, I guess it could potentially have its wrongdoings for some folks, but in the overall, no way. This is insane. Headline is very misleading, and they definitely don't understand how this plant works.
I think it's
I mean,
a good.
you know how
You both make a really good point in the sense of like that cannabis. The way people view addiction and cannabis and drugs, right, is all in one, right? So you're addicted to cannabis, you're addicted to crack, you're addicted to heroin. It's all the same thing. What they don't understand is like people that use cannabis all day, they do it because they want to, not because they have to. Like there's not anything in you where you like start throwing up and get sick when you don't have your joint, right, or your bong or your vape or dab or whatever you're doing, right? But the people that smoke cannabis all day usually want to because it makes them feel better. It gives them a better angle at life, more productivity, whatever it is for them individually. So I think that's the misconception that people miss that don't use cannabis and who aren't familiar with the plant.
you know,
Well,
that's,
I've always found evaluator bias in these folks, and I've butted heads with these psychiatrists who treat the cannabis use disorder, and they don't like to answer questions because they tended to get most of their referrals from the courts to see your kids going to prison, or you can put him into cannabis disorder treatments. Like, yeah, that's fucking bullshit. That's biased, okay? And I don't know we're going to get any of these studies because today I don't know how you really find unbiased people unless everyone is double blinded and you have no idea what you're doing, and you really take a look at somebody having symptoms irrespective of what you think you've taken or what you think you've given them. You just don't have the studies right now. And this stuff is bullshit propaganda, Jason. You hit it.
yeah, 100% bullshit propaganda. Just freaks people out.
I don't know if I would call this bullshit propaganda.
Of course you
I
wouldn't.
would say, well, let me fucking speak for once, Jason Beck,
Please.
and maybe you'll hear an
Please,
enlightened
by all means.
opinion. My suggesting is this is an ill-informed media who wrote this. I'm looking at what the New York Times has versus what the actual report has. And for them to boil down this report into a couple of paragraphs is ridiculous. And they picked the one headline. They probably read the abstract and didn't even bother going into the report. But frankly, I would love to hear the opinion of Dr. Felicia or Dr. Talleyrand on what they think of this scientific report. I think that they're choosing a lot of using correlation a lot in this report and suggesting that just because people consume cannabis, that is the problem to their issues. And I think they might be making a leap here, but I would love to hear what an actual scientist thinks.
Correlation and not causal.
Yeah, yeah, correlation is not
Not
causation.
causation.
Yeah.
Dr. Hawk.
I wonder too if any of this is because of these new, what I would call trendier genetics that aren't as good as what like other weed that we used to consume, is something because of these different antiquated percentages.
Well, I don't know about that, but if you're getting fired from your job, if you're getting arrested and things like that because you're using weed in a place where it's not accepted, those go into diagnosing a cannabis use disorder, and they have and should not have anything to do with what the plant does to you.
Hold on. So you're saying that that these numbers are 100% skewed because of the fact that they are actually equating things that happen in people's lives. So like if you got arrested for cannabis or something, then they're counting that as well in this thing, and it's not actually people that are actually having a reaction where they're throwing up.
If you read the report says patients were categorized by the stated reason for using cannabis during the past 30 days. Medical use only, non-medical use only, or both reasons for all. So they said, why did you use cannabis for the past 30 days? And someone said, I broke up with my girlfriend. It drove me nuts, blah, blah. Clearly, you're fucking nuts. This is psychosis. I think it's a bullshit study.
Oh,
and it's all from Washington State.
It's a bullshit study. That's right. It's more propaganda.
There.
No, I'm not saying it's propaganda, but I'm saying I think they're flawed in their collection of what they were doing.
Which automatically turns it.
I'm reading this study and skimming it in 5 seconds.
Which turns it into propaganda.
We do have to go. We do have to move on to our last story because we're running short on time here. Everybody, bringing us home once again today is the author, activist, entrepreneur, OG, trailblazer, and warrior for justice, spitter of truths. And most importantly, a dope girl dad. Give it up, y'all, for Luke Scarmazzo.
Yes. Good morning. Luke Scarmazzo reporting for the High at 9 News. I'm like the outlaw correspondent, justice. I guess in the like corporate world it'd be justice correspondent, but on the High at 9 News, I'm the outlaw correspondent. So what we got today comes to you from the Daily Journal, and it is police bust large marijuana growing operation in western Kankakee County. So this comes to you out of Illinois, Bonfield. And a traffic stop made by the Hershier police led to 2 Chicago men and the discovery of cannabis growing operation where the Kankakee Area Metropolitan Enforcement Group agents found about 700 cannabis plants in the rural Bonfield area on Monday. Yi Chao Mai, 44, and Yao Zong Yu, 29, both of Chicago, were arrested by CAMEG for the preliminary charge of possession of cannabis of more than 200 plants. They are expected to appear before court today, according to the Kankakee County State Attorney's Office. Hershier Police Chief Kurt Quick, Chief Kurt Quick is his name. Okay, sorry, I'll keep going. Said at 2:15, an officer conducted a traffic stop on a U-Haul at South 1000 West Road on Illinois Route 17 West. The violation was an improper lane usage. During the stop, the officer could smell a strong odor of cannabis coming from the U-Haul. Hershier police officers requested assistance from the KMEG K9, which had a positive alert on the U-Haul. Quick is what Quick said. 40 to 50 bags of marijuana plant material were found in the back of the U-Haul, Quick said. An investigation by KMEG agents led to them obtaining a search warrant at an address in the rural Bonfield area. When the search warrant was executed, agents found about 700 plants throughout the entire house. Quick said it was a well-organized and elaborate growing operation. So, it sounds like they got pulled over. One of them either gave their address or the car was registered to a place that had a huge grow operation going This is in Illinois. Illinois is a state that has recreational cannabis going on. These people got arrested for it. They are in jail right now, or went to jail. I don't know if they bonded out, but this just lets you know that the war on cannabis, the war on drugs, still is raging today. This is in Illinois. This is not in Alabama. This is a state that has recreational cannabis laws, you know. And this just shows, like, if you are going to be doing illegal stuff, please be smart. Please don't have your house on your ID or the car you're registered to or whatever that type of stuff is registered to your name and then get in trouble. I'd like to kick it to my correspondents to see what you have today. Luke Scarmazzo, High at 9 News. Go cop my boy Weldon Angelos's Reform brand, just dropped 2 weeks ago. Got some dope shit on there for you guys. Holla at me.
Never break more than one law at a time. That's what I taught my kids, and it applies here. Don't be fucking stupid driving around drunk and acting idiot when you're growing 600 or 700 plants at your house. Someone's liable to come knocking. I'm shocked.
What about 4 laws at once? What about 4 laws at once, and you have to fight all 4? You got a big.
Well, then you're
going
to be broke paying for lawyers.
Exactly. That's expensive right there. That's an expensive time right there. Where is this Kankakee County?
It's outside of Chicago. It's like,
outside of Chicago.
Yeah,
okay. All right.
Yeah, it's about an hour south, I want to say. Kankakee.
Sounds like it should be in Hawaii.
Kankakee.
Yeah, I mean,
Cocky.
You know, it's
Oh,
crazy
boy.
how many towns are named after Native Americans, right, Jason?
There's a lot.
Or Bong City. What was that?
There's a
Bong
lot.
City you were
Yeah,
talking
it's
about?
almost as if they were here first.
Oh God, here we go, Rico. More, just, you know.
Thank you all for joining us for another episode of High at 9. It was a great story, Luke. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans showing love, getting their comments up live on the big screen, our live audience and online supporters, catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table too. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, all the sponsors keeping our lights on and our AV struggles to a minimum. And of course, the lovely Jaja Simone always holding us down on the other platforms, making sure that we are nice. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason that the High at 9 News team reads these stories every day. Thank you. It has been Wednesday, Hump Day, August 30th, 2023. The show is over, and I hope you all have been blessed with the top headlines of the day, and it was enough to put in your pipe and smoke it at least until tomorrow. Luke Scarmazzo. I always say that wrong, my man. You got the outro today, man. What you got?
It's funny because that's exactly how my brother says it too. So you're not technically wrong. Like I said, yes, please go and cop my boy Reform. Weldon Angelos just dropped his brand. It's dope. Got some fire. Go out, pay it forward. Be nice to somebody. That person will be nice to somebody. We'll make the world a better place. You heard it here. High at 9 News. Go out and be a good person.